The Bloody Mary Podcast.
Welcome to the Bloody Mary Podcast, where we talk about all things horror while drinking a Bloody Mary. I'm Jesse.
And I'm Tami, and we're totally married. And today, we are drinking a classic Bloody Mary.
Yeah, it's fucking tasty too.
It is fucking delicious.
I'm gonna have some more.
Had a little liquid courage to start. Cheers.
Cheers. First episode. So we decided to do this podcast just because we love horror movies, and we met because of horror movies, and I make horror movies, and we're surrounded by horror movies, VHS.
All of which is fucking rad, by the way.
Super rad. So I guess we should just talk about who we are, right?
Okay.
To get going.
Yeah, let's do it.
You first. Go ahead.
Well, I'm Tami, and
hi, Tami.
Hi. I am a artist and a writer and a lover of horror. And we met because I posted some art online and you contacted me to see if I would be interested in doing a poster.
I did. It had nothing to do with your sexy profile pic or anything.
None. Zero.
Yeah. It's all about your art.
Yeah. All about the art.
Yeah. All
of it. Which my art is a little bit on the darker side of life.
It is. And that's why I thought you'd be good for, I guess people don't know, like I was starting a film project called Night of the Witch, which is out now in festivals. But I was starting this film and I needed some promotional art for it. And I was looking for new artists and I came across your work because I just reached out to you and that's kind of how we met.
Yeah.
Well, that is how we met.
That is how we met.
Yeah.
And I was at the time saying yes to things. And you said, well, you do horror comedy. And I was like, fuck yeah, those are like my favorite things. And no one around me in my life at the time liked horror. So I was really jazzed to get to meet you and do this. Also nervous, but hey, it turned out great. And then 3 years later, we're married.
We're married as fuck. Jazzed to meet me.
I was super jazzed to meet you.
Like totally jazzed.
So, yeah, and then we just talked about horror. And
we did. And I was like, this chick is rad. Because, like, when we first met, you just started talking about horror movies and your favorite horror movies and how, Halloween was your favorite one.
Yes.
Spoiler alert for later.
Spoiler alert.
Where we talk about our favorite horror movies. But, yes, that's how we met. And I thought you were fucking amazing when we first met talking about horror movies. That's like, there's like a list of things that need to be checked off when meeting like a significant other. One is they have to like know horror movies or like them at least, and you love them. So
oh yeah, that would be a no-go if I didn't.
Yeah, and boobs, you have them.
I do.
That's another check.
Boom.
Yeah, cool.
All the boobs. And I was excited to talk to someone about horror movies because no one in my life liked them or would talk about them.
Weird.
It is weird now that I'm surrounded by it, which is great. And then to get to come on set and watch was like...
On set of what? Some people may not know.
Oh, on set of... Actually, not Nuclear Waste.
No, yeah.
Which is the first set I went to and watched, which was super rad. But Night of the Witch... Mm-hmm. Getting to see that and the logistics behind it, and then getting to actually do the storyboards, which is something I'd never done before. And so I got to see kind of start to finish, which is pretty great. Yeah,
and cleared up, Nuclear Waste was a short film I did a few years ago. I made it for a Super 8 film contest. And Night of the Witch is a short film that we've worked on, that I've done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well... Enough about you. It's time for me. I'm a filmmaker. I make horror movies. I've been doing it for a very long time. Right. I have Mr. Dark. I have that. That's a web series. Night of the Witch is a short film. I do a whole bunch of short films, and they're typically horror comedy.
The more blood, the better.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm known for using a lot of blood in my films.
Yes. And when he says, oh, don't worry, it's just going to be a little bit of blood, that means blood will spray all over the living room.
Yeah. I've covered some sets in blood that didn't really mean to, or like, yeah, don't worry, it's just going to be a little blood splatter. Next thing you know, there's like fire extinguishers and like blood going everywhere. Everyone's soaked in blood. Like, yeah, don't worry, you won't get any blood on you. And then next thing you know, they're covered head to toe, which I'm sure a lot of people listening and watching this, they're like, yeah, we know. But yeah, I make horror movies. It's what I love doing. I always got projects I'm working on. They're coming up soon. We're going to have another Mr. Dark episode, and we're shooting another one in like 2.5 weeks that I'm really excited for. So that's in pre-production, plus bigger stuff down the road. Currently, Night of the Witch is in film festivals, so there's going to be news about that coming up strongly in next Halloween season. I love horror movies. I've been watching them my whole life. Yeah, I remember just biking up to the local video store in a small town, renting 5 movies for 5 nights for $5, and they're usually all horror. So yeah, just grew up with them, love them, make them. Found my wife who loves horror movies too, and she helps me make them now too.
Yeah, which is pretty rad.
She's there usually from the inception of something now and all the way through to the finished product, which is pretty awesome that I have a wife
that's pretty awesome that I have a husband. It's really cool to see the whole process from start to finish, because I was one of those people who would watch the behind the scenes and how things are made, and when I watch a DVD or whatever, and now I get to see scripts to finished product, which is really, really cool. Cool. I love that. And also I have a son who's 17, and he also enjoys that. And so he gets to be in that environment and learn how to be on set. And also he is going to school for props and stuff. So he gets to work at those prop muscles by doing a bunch of really rad things for his rad stepdad. Yeah,
no, that's cool. He's been doing props and stuff for the films recently. Like last winter, we participated in the 100-hour film contest. It's an international one, and we took home best ensemble cast and best visual effects, and the visual effects is all James's for the most part, as he made, I think the biggest thing was the crystal ball. He made a prop crystal ball for that, which turned out really cool, and we got an award. He got an award, really.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, posters
it's
right
there behind us.
Yeah, he's always making props and stuff, and he loves it, and
it's a family affair.
Oh yeah, totally. And so yeah, that's me.
And that's me.
A little bit for horror movies, and also I am a big lover of Bloody Marys.
I recently acquired a love for Bloody Marys. I had never really had them.
I did that,
and now I love them.
Yeah,
and
tasty.
We try them at different places all around town.
Oh yeah, for sure. And we're going to try and mix it up and have different variations of Bloody Marys every time we do an episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
should we talk about our top 5?
Yes. So, okay. We should talk about our favorite films, our favorite horror films.
Yes.
Our top 5.
I'm going to let you go first.
All right. Let me go first. This is kind of hard to do because
it is.
I love a lot of horror films, and to put them in like a little box of top 5, it's really easy for me to pick my first one.
Me too.
But the rest is a little tricky. So I just kind of I narrowed it down for me for the most entertaining and the ones that I watched the most. Not necessarily like the critically acclaimed best ones, but like the ones I have on while I'm doing film work, writing, editing, for inspiration, or to have on in the background, or ones that I just like to watch, pretty regularly. So like for instance, like classics like The Shining and Psycho aren't going to be on my list because I feel those are great films, but they take a certain kind of dedication when you're watching them.
Yes.
You got to sit and you're kind of in that. Not saying that the ones I'm going to say you don't dedicate yourself to it, but I think it's just my top 5 are a different kind.
So are mine. Agreed.
So I'm just going to go ahead and number 5 on my list is John Carpenter's The Thing from 1982.
Oh, I don't have dates. So
Oh, you don't have dates?
I don't have dates.
It's okay. I got dates. I win. I win the date game.
He wins the date game.
But that movie's classic. That movie's great. Kurt Russell with his epic feathered long hair.
Oh,
and
yes.
his beard is
the
just
beard
enough
and the feathered hair
there to make any kind of list. But the effects in that are, as everyone knows, just top tier
Right.
practical effects. And the premise I like, and I do this quite often in my stuff, where it's relatively one location.
Right.
And like the isolation aspect of it is just really tense, and it's a lot of fun. It's a whodunit in a horror setting.
Right. I don't think I've seen it in a very long time.
Well, it's about a whole bunch of people in the Arctic, a science team, and they discover an alien. Spoiler alert in whatever. Who gives a shit?
There will be spoiler alerts, people.
There's spoilers through this whole thing. So if you're watching this, we're going to spoil everything. They find an alien, and it's the type of alien that takes over your body, and you don't know who's who.
Okay.
So
yes, I remember.
Yeah.
I've seen it. I know I have. It's been a while, though.
It's pretty cool. In the beginning, he has a great fight with his computer that's like solely for playing chess. It's like a computer, and he's here drinking his bourbon or scotch or whatever.
A 1982 computer.
Yeah.
So. And
he loses, and he dumps the liquor into the computer, and it like explodes and blows up. He's like, cheap bitch. So that's like, that kicks off his character.
Boom.
Like he lost, and he just like killed, probably back then, I don't know, a very expensive machine.
Right.
And relatively probably the only like form of entertainment this man has out in isolation. He just destroyed.
Ugh.
Yeah.
In the cold.
But then they
Arctic.
find aliens, so he's fine. But
that's entertaining.
Yeah.
That gives them something to do.
yeah, no.
Yeah.
I like it. It's my number 5. It's pretty cool.
All right. What's your number 4?
Well, no, it's your turn now. You do number 5.
Oh, okay.
We're going to do it that way.
Well,
I've decided.
he's changing it up on me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with Jaws, actually.
Jaws. Classic.
It is a classic, and my stepdad was actually around when it was filmed, and I watched it with him a lot. So it holds a lot of memories for me, and it doesn't scare me. But like when I was little, I could still swim or, do all that stuff. Like I wasn't afraid of that. But just the opening scene where she's swimming in the water, and then the music comes, and she,
Yeah.
whoo,
I get it.
like,
yeah.
so good. And just the anticipation of it, some great lines, and just the sheer fact that they, pulled off a mechanical great white shark is pretty dope.
I'm one of those people that don't like that movie.
No?
No.
What?
I'm not a Jaws fan.
Damn, I got you a Jaws poster.
You did.
Puzzle.
The poster's cool.
Damn it.
Yeah. But
I guess more for myself then?
I have them all on VHS. I respect Jaws as a film, but I've never been scared by it. I was never into it.
Yeah.
There's
so
some good performances.
There's some great performances.
I like oh God,
At
what's
the
his name? Mr. Holland's Opus.
Oh, Richard Dreyfuss.
Yes, him.
Yes, a young Richard Dreyfuss.
Yeah. Like I like that. But yes, I respect your number 5.
Oh, thank you.
But
But I don't like it.
that movie.
I respect it.
I'll catch
but
a lot
I
of
don't
shit
like
for that. I like Tom Petty. I don't like him. I don't like his music, but I respect what he did. So Jaws is like Tom Petty for me.
Oh, see, and I like Tom Petty too.
Tom Petty
Well, I like two Tom
riding
Petty
a
songs.
shark.
Tom Petty riding a shark.
That's a nightmare for me.
I'm going to draw you that Tom Petty riding a
God damn
shark.
it. That's stupid.
Happy birthday, baby.
Thanks. Thank you. Thanks. Have some more Bloody Mary.
Okay, what's your number 4?
Number 4. Love this movie. For me, it's Return of the Living Dead.
Oh.
Horror comedy. 1985, directed by Dan O'Bannon. yeah, it's just great. It's a lot of fun. As far as zombie films go, that's my favorite, for sure. I think I'll catch a lot of flack for this too, but I like this better than any of George Romero's Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Return of the Living Dead. It's just a lot of fun to watch, and it's shorter, and there's so much in it. It's pretty. There's like naked graveyard tit dancing, and there's Tarman, and there's like stuffed medical dogs that come alive. And the duo, Tom Matthews, here I have it written down, and James Karen, that play Freddie and Frank, are like kind of the two main people, you could say. But their chemistry on screen is just so entertaining to watch. It's like an older guy and a younger guy. Have you seen Return of the Living Dead?
I have not, because I'm actually not a huge zombie fan.
Well, here. It's right here. We're gonna have to watch it then. This is messed up. You haven't
seen
one
amazing thing about our basement is we have like a Blockbuster from the 90s.
We do.
All up in it. And it's fucking rad.
We are surrounded by VHS tapes.
My husband came with it.
Yes.
It is a package deal.
Well, I am also a collector of VHS and horror VHS too, so I have a lot of those.
So we'll have to watch it.
But Return of the Living Dead, super entertaining, super fun. Lots, again, practical effects all over the place, which is so cool. They did a really great job with the main zombie Tarman. You need brains. You just have to watch it. Just super entertaining to watch, and good chemistry with the cast. Yeah, it's pretty fun. So,
well, I will check it out.
Next.
Your
turn.
So my number 4 is actually a newer one, which is Terrifier.
Oh yeah, that movie's great.
That is a movie that is, you either love it or you hate it, I think.
Yeah.
In the horror genre, and people who love horror, you either like it or you're like, no.
Mm-hmm.
And I like it because I really love Art the Clown. I love that he's creepy as fuck.
He's a
and
great
he
character.
Says nothing. He says no words whatsoever and conveys everything through his facial expressions and his body movements.
Mm-hmm.
And to portray that in a right way and make it like I want to watch more of him.
Mm-hmm.
Without saying any words, I think is pretty fucking rad. And I think it takes a lot of skill. And also, I love a good kill scene. As I mentioned in our vows when we got married.
Wait, you said something about a kill scene in our vows?
I did.
Our wedding was so much of a blur.
It was. It went so fast. I said... and you love me for my love of a good kill scene.
Oh, like I don't remember that at all. I'm sorry. I love you.
Oh, God damn it, Jesse. I have it wrote down. You could read it.
Okay, I will. I'll read it.
Mine was like
probably won't,
super long. So anyways, back to Terrifier. I love a good kill scene. And the kill scene in that movie... Like the one of the kill scenes where she's hanging upside down and he just
the sawing, isn't it?
Saw her vagina first is fucking great. I love it. And you haven't seen something like that, really. And I love how he brings back the cell phone, because in the beginning, she was that dumb, ditzy, drunk blonde with her tits out, sitting on his lap, the lap of a creepy stranger, and taking pictures and being like, smile, smile. And he's just sitting there like stone-faced, murder face, really. And then when he gets her and he kills her and he grabs her phone and then takes pictures like, I love that. I love that so much.
Yeah.
And I love that at one point he's doing all of that crazy shit to them and then he just pulls out a gun and shoots her. Yeah. It's unexpected.
It is. A lot of those killers don't get guns.
No.
That you see in films like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. See, all the horror. They're never just going around shooting people.
Yeah.
Like people are getting chopped up and there's, there's some violence, but he just like, she won't die. And then he just was like, whatever, grabs his little out of his like bag of tricks or whatever,
Yeah.
and then just shoots her.
Yeah, I think that was a really good example just by watching it of what you can do with a budget, because it didn't seem like they had a lot of money.
No, it's a low budget.
It seems
for sure.
like they took advantage of what they did have, and they used it very wisely. And I know they just did I think they crowdfunded the first one, if I'm not mistaken, but I know they crowdfunded for a second one, and that one's in the process of being made.
I cannot wait for that, because I would love to see him again, because I just think he's a really great villain.
Oh, yeah.
Without saying any words, and that's hard to do.
Yeah. Well, that's very respectful. What was it, number 4?
That was my 4, yeah.
That was your 4, yes. I like it.
All right, what's your number 3?
Moving on. What is my number 3? Let me look here. Scream, 1996, Wes Craven.
That is an excellent
Directed
movie.
by Wes Craven, written by Kevin Williamson, starring Neve Campbell, Skeet Ulrich, Courtney Cox, Matthew Lillard, and many, many more actors of that era. And that movie just really revitalized the slasher, go as far as to say the horror genre at the time.
Yes, it was a little dead then.
There, because the 80s was just jam-packed with it. And then there was a lull. And Scream came around and just really kind of made it popular again. They put some bigger names at the time in there, and it was just a lot of fun. Yeah, there are good kills and a lot of cool acting. Again, entertaining to watch, and it was really fun to try and figure out at the time. When I first saw it, like, oh my God, who's the killer?
Right. It was a good who is it? And then
and then there was 2,
right?
Which I don't remember ever seeing that, and so
No,
that
I don't think so either.
kind of came out of nowhere, and yeah, that was just really well crafted, and Wes Craven is a really good director. It's probably my favorite thing he's done is Scream. Even though he did Nightmare on Elm Street, which I respect that one, but I think Scream, he was really in his own when he made that film.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I even did a reenactment with my brother, 8 years ago. We did a scene from Scream.
Right.
It's on YouTube. You can probably find that. Well, you can find that. Yeah, so Scream, that's my number 3. I love it. I have a feeling it's on your list too.
It is on my list. It is not my number 3. My number 3 is actually Annabelle Creation, because it creeped me out. The one.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's
sorry.
a newer
Brain
one.
Fart. Yeah, it's the one we watched and got creeped out at.
It was. Horror movies don't generally creep me out. I don't generally watch it and be like, I'm really fucking creeped out right now, because I love them so much, and I just watching that, I was just creeped the fuck out.
Yeah.
In a good way though. So that's on there because it takes a lot to creep me out.
Yeah.
And the whole movie creeped me out.
I agree. We watched that together, and I remember we were saying that this is scary. I was like, I'm kind of scared right now, and it doesn't happen often. You know, being older now, it takes quite a bit to. When something scares me, it's at night. I'm like checking the closets, or like I double check. I look
under the bed. And,
I look over there just to make sure nothing's in the room, and that was one of those.
Yeah, it really was.
I mean, the plot wasn't anything too crazy. The plot was relatively simple, but it was well done.
It really was.
And that, I think too, this helps that it was happening to kids.
Yeah. Having it happen to kids, and then also having creepy kids helps a lot. But just the whole and the jerky body movements and the weird, it creeped me out, and it really takes a lot to creep me out nowadays. Yeah. So that is definitely my number 3.
Cool. I feel like there's a joke in there somewhere.
I'm sure there is.
Good number 3.
What is your number 2?
My number 2 is Fright Night, 1985.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Directed by Tom Holland, starring William Ragsdale as Charlie Brewster, Roddy McDowall as Peter Vincent, and of course Chris Sarandon as Jerry Dandridge, the vampire. Yeah, that's just fun 80s. It's kind of a twist on the old Hitchcock film. The name is escaping my brain right now. The guy who's got the he's sitting across the way and he can't leave his apartment, and he's like noticing stuff happening across
Right.
his rear window.
Rear window. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Same thing happens. Teen boy, he's like sees a vampire kill a chick, kill a hooker across
Right.
the street. The new neighbor, and no one believes him. So his friends don't believe him. So he goes and tries to recruit a horror movie television host to come and kill vampires with him.
Yes.
It's just fun. It's a fun ride, and again, practical effects. A lot of really awesome practical effects, and I just love that movie. That's probably one of the main ones that I have going when I'm writing or editing, just on in the background. And the soundtrack for that is just stellar. Like, I love the Fright Night soundtrack, and
I don't think I've listened to the soundtrack, and I will say that I saw the remake before I saw the first one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Remake's good. Remake's decent. We're gonna have a remake episode.
We are,
where we talk about good horror remakes and bad ones and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But
I saw
agree
that one first,
That
and
one's pretty good.
I enjoyed that, and
Yeah.
so then I went back and I watched the original, which I also enjoyed.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, so which one do you like better?
I would say I kind of like the new one.
Yeah. Well, the good thing they did in the new one, which I liked, is they gave Chris Sarandon a cameo, who played the original vampire. I think he found him he was on the side of the road, or he was a driver. I'd have to watch it again, but yeah.
I like Anton.
Oh,
The guy.
Anton Yelkin.
Yeah, I really like him. So I like.
Yelchin.
Yes.
Yelkian. Antoine.
And then also Colin Farrell, not.
I like him.
He's pretty easy on the eyes, so that helped. That
He is.
helps.
He is.
Yeah.
Yes, but Fright Night, the original, is my second favorite horror movie. There's so much good stuff in that film.
Yeah.
And the neighbor from Married with Children is in it as his love interest.
That's right.
Yeah, I can't remember her name, but when she turns vampire at the end, her face, it's like goes from, she got a huge ass smile that's like rows of razor sharp teeth, and that was fucking scary. Yeah, that was just entertaining and fun. And might I say, it's one of the better sequels. Fright Night 2 that came out a few years later is a really great sequel, really good horror sequel. So let's just move on to your number 2.
Well, my number 2 is Scream.
Scream?
It
Wow.
is.
Yeah.
So many reasons.
Go figure.
Kind of like what you had stated, that there was a lull and it just brought it back, like with a bang.
We're still here.
And and at the time it was a big deal too, but having, they had Drew Barrymore in it, and she's Drew Barrymore. And she's making her comeback after being the child star and then doing Poison Ivy. And like, she's trying to make a comeback herself. And people are like, oh my God, Drew Barrymore. And they really promoted it with her being Drew Barrymore is in this movie.
Yeah. And then they did old Psycho thing, Janet.
Right.
Where they just kill her off.
She's dead. Like, she's the first one dead, which I think was brilliant. That was brilliant on their part, because people were like, oh, we're gonna go see it, Drew Barrymore, like Wes Craven, and then dead. First thing. I loved that. I love that it's funny, and I love that it incorporates the time of the 90s with the cell phone, when they had the old cell phones, and like what did they do, clone the number or whatever they did, and the voice thing, and then their whole reason for it. And then the Skeet, I love him, and he make Billy Loomis so good. And I'm a weirdo, and I love to fall asleep to horror movies. I find them very soothing.
I know.
So Scream is definitely one of the horror movies that I put on to fall asleep to. And Kevin Williamson wrote it, which, as a 90s girl, he created Dawson's Creek.
Oh,
and I was like, wait, what? Like, the Dawson's Creek guy wrote Scream?
Yeah.
So, I
he just wanted to kill all his Dawson Creek characters.
Kill them all. And I love Randy and the whole rules of horror movies and like I'll be back, or like all of those things. Like it just took all what people love about horror movies and like interwove it in the script and just the humor in it and just all of it.
It was smart. It was
very smart.
It was meta too without pushing it.
Yes.
Being in your face with it.
Scream 1 and I think Scream 4 did it pretty well too as being meta, but not too meta.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my number 2. And
it's a great number 2.
Thank you.
No problem.
And what is your number 1?
Well, I'm sure you already know. It's Evil Dead 2 Dead by Dawn. 1987, directed by Sam Raimi, starring Bruce Campbell. I mean, anybody who knows horror that's listening or watching this, you don't even need to say why, really.
Right.
I mean, it just perfectly combines horror and comedy.
It really does.
And
that's such a great...
Bruce Campbell, Ash Williams, it's just a great character. I mean, the idea is just an idiot getting thrown into this and winning. Kind of.
Right.
Like, again, great practical effects. Pretty short and sweet. I think the film runs like 80-something minutes. They cram a lot of stuff into it, and there's always something to watch when you're watching it.
Yes.
It's just a lot of fun, and he's fucking hilarious.
He really is. He has great comic timing, and...
Yeah. Then all the sequels they did were really great, and the series that came out. But yeah, Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn, I saw it, I think, when it first hit HBO, so probably late 87 or 1988. I remember watching it late night on TV, and I think it was around Halloween. So it was like I was in that atmosphere of...
Right.
I just got done trick-or-treating, and then I come home, and then I asked my parents, hey, can I stay up a little later and watch horror movies? And they're like, yeah. I'm sure they went, banged upstairs or something. But... anyways, that was like one of the ones that came up that year, and I was watching late night, and I was so like sucked in as a child. And it's more funny now as an adult, but as a kid, a lot of that humor got kind of lost on you, and I was actually scared a lot of the times. Like when his girlfriend is dancing in the woods, that was terrifying.
Right.
It was like really tense as a kid. It was a whole really tense journey.
And I think that's a great when you watch it as a kid and it's scary and you don't quite get the humor, but then as an adult, you really appreciate the humor and you see it in a different light. Like it doesn't scare you anymore, but it holds those memories, but also you get jokes that you didn't get before.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then I would always, as a kid after that, play Evil Dead, like as a game. like I would find like a couple toy guns and duct tape them together and like pretend I was Ash in the basement like killing demons. I would have like a little Necronomicon book.
That's awesome. Why do we not know each other as children?
I know. Everyone was off playing like G.I. Joes in the trees and stuff, and I'm like walking around my creepy basement as Ash playing Evil Dead.
See, and I was the weirdo kid that couldn't really tell people because I would get made fun of.
Yeah.
God, where were you when I was little? In Minnesota.
I was in Minnesota playing
and I was in Washington.
Yeah. And also too, a lot of those influenced like kind of what I do, but probably the most is Evil Dead 2 that you can see influences in all the work I do, even when it's unintentional. Like Bruce Campbell is sprinkled into every film and like a lot of my characters, even when I'm not trying, just that it happens sometimes. And sometimes on purpose. Like there's a few things in Night of the Witch. There's like, I don't know, a lot of homages to Evil Dead 2. I think they're tastefully and excitingly done.
I agree.
But yeah, Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn, my favorite horror movie and my favorite movie in general. You can't top it. I know in my heart it is far superior than the original, and there's also people that'll probably be like, the first one's the best, but no, the second one is the best.
The second one,
it is.
What's
your number one?
My number one, which you do already know. So I have a conundrum with this one because the original Halloween is my number one because I watched that on cable when I was 9 years old in my room by myself. and it scared the shit out of me, and I loved it. And it kind of just changed my life a little bit because I really enjoyed that feeling, because it was had a lot of crazy things in my life, and this was I could feel all that scared adrenaline, anxiety, and it was okay because then the movie would end and it would be fine.
Yeah.
So watching that as a 9-year-old and scaring the shit out of myself was the best thing. And it changed the way I watched. It just changed my view of everything when I was 9.
It's fun when something does that to you.
It is. And so after that, I would rent a bunch of horror movies and then lock myself in my room and scare the shit out of myself for a lot of years. I'm like,
boo,
boo, what's that noise? Holy shit, ah. And the noise creeping outside, like, oh my God, I'm not scared. I'm not scared. I'm not scared. But
that was fun to do as a kid.
It really was.
Yeah.
And then I like to be prepared for things. Horror movies prepares you for things if you watch enough of, just in case. You never know.
So you're Randy from Scream.
Yes, I am Randy from Scream. And we would. My friend Alexis and I would rent them on Halloween night and scare the shit out of ourselves. I spent a lot of years watching a lot of horror to scare the shit out of myself, and now I fall asleep to them because they're soothing. And then I really enjoy Rob Zombie's Halloween as well.
Me too. And I'm just going to interrupt you and say I like his better than the original. And,
I agree.
And everyone's just going to stop watching now or listening to us because I said that. But, yeah.
Well, the first one it changed. That's the first one I ever watched. Mm-hmm. So that just changed everything for me. So it holds that special place. But if you watch it now, you're like my son watched it and he was like, Mom, it's not scary at all. And I was like, as a 9-year-old, it's fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Having a creepy guy walking down.
Yeah.
Another guy that doesn't talk, who's, ominous and scary just by his stature, and the, creepy and not speaking can be creepy too. But Rob Zombies, I really enjoyed more. I do enjoy that more. Again, I love a good kill scene. He's got a lot of good scenes in that, a lot of blood. But he makes it more human.
Yeah.
Whereas I think the first one is more, there's something mysterious and a little supernatural about him.
He's the boogeyman.
He's the boogeyman, right. He's the boogeyman. Where in Rob Zombies, he's more human. And it's more down to earth, I think. So they're kind of tied for me.
Yeah.
Because I can't not say that original is not my number one, because that changed everything.
Yeah.
So, do you have any honorable mentions?
Well, first we'll go back to the Halloween thing.
Yes.
I'm not saying Rob Zombies is far superior. It edges it out.
It does.
The first one has Jamie Lee Curtis, and that's what Rob Zombies is lacking.
Scream Queen.
The Jamie Lee.
True.
And the aesthetic of the first and just the style of when it was filmed and stuff is really great.
Well, and then also
the feathered hair, but also what made that movie is the score. Yeah, that's
if you didn't have the score to that, and that his music, it wouldn't be as scary, or it wouldn't.
Just one of the famous horror movie or movie in general scores out there,
right? That made without that, it wouldn't have been anything, really, I don't think. I think that brought it all together and made it as scary as it is.
Yeah.
Especially for that time in the 70s. And then, how they shot it and everything like that. But, yeah.
Yeah, he's a great... John Carpenter is a great director. He directed The Thing, and that's, number 5 on my list. Honorable mentions, huh?
Honorable mentions. I mean, there's a lot to talk about.
There is.
So...
I could probably throw out my favorite Friday the 13th movie, which is, they're all good, but Jason Takes Manhattan, Friday the 13th Part 8. It's my favorite it's so hokey, but it's so much fun, and I like the fact that it's in New York. I like when they put films in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And that one, I think, probably wouldn't be on my top if it didn't have like a strong nostalgia factor for me, because I remember my dad took me to see it in the movie theater, and that was like, yeah, my dad would take me to see horror films when I was a kid. He took me to a few of them, so just seeing that with him in the theater, like my dad would actually take me like I was like 8 years old, I think, to see that was really cool. Yeah, that one and Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2 is really fun. I like that better than the original too.
Really, I like the original.
I liked the again.
That's
a lot
that's
of
an honorable
mine,
mention for me is Texas Chainsaw, the original.
and that one's great too. But a lot of my favorite movies have comedy elements to them.
Yeah,
and I think that was a smart direction because it's the same director, Tobe Hooper. He directed the first and the second. How do you top the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? You know, he went the route of, let's just make it ridiculous. Let's make it comedic.
Right.
Let's, make these characters sillier. And I think there's a fear in that too, because I remember seeing it when I was a kid, and the fact that these characters were so silly and whimsical and doing these horrific things to people was terrifying in itself, like as a child. As an adult, you can look at it and be like, oh, this is fun, this is funny, and stuff like that.
Right.
I like that one. I like the guy who played Leatherface and Bill Moseley as Chop Top scraping his head. I mean, that's really cool. The ending is great. Yeah, I just love that film.
One of my honorable mentions is Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I enjoy that very much. I really love the like PTSD part of it. Like they went through, her and her friend both like went through all of that shit.
Yeah.
And you're going to be fucked up from that. You're going to be so fucked up from that, and you're going to have nightmares, and like you're not going to be the same person. Whereas like in Jamie Lee Curtis's number 2, she's still kind of dresses the same and kind of is the same. Whereas this one, you're fucked up. Like in real life, if that happened to you, you would not be okay.
Yeah.
And I like at Rob Zombies that they're not. She dresses completely different. You know, she's got her.
Yeah, she's a different person. She went through a traumatic event. She sees a therapist.
Right. She sees therapists. She takes medication. She has nightmares. She doesn't.
She's partying.
She's partying more. She's got everything about her is different, and that's what I like about that one.
I like that. Yeah, that's a good one. I remember seeing it in the theater and not liking it. I was like, oh my god, what is this? And then I rewatched it like a year or two later, and I was like, I get it. This movie's great, and I almost like that one better than the first one he did, because the second one was just, he made it his own. Right. And I really respect and appreciate that. And he did some really cool stuff.
Agreed.
And the kills were cool. It was shot great. I think he shot some of that stuff on film, like actual film.
Really?
Yeah, it was good. I like that he just kind of changed the path of a lot of the characters. Like the doctor went and
became a dick.
Sold out.
He became a dick.
Yeah.
All about the money.
Yeah. And again, there's cool, awesome kill scenes, and boobs, and I like that she worked at a record store. It was fun.
It was fun. Yeah. And I just liked seeing the juxtaposition. And the ending I like because now she's in a fucking white room.
It was her.
It was her, right.
If they would have continued.
I wish they would have continued. I would have loved to see what he would have done.
Yeah. Well, on the Halloween note, what did you think of the new one? While we have some Bloody Mary.
I love Jamie Lee Curtis. But it was okay.
Yeah.
I am sad that they completely wiped out him being her sister.
See, I didn't care that didn't bother me one way or the other.
I think it adds a layer to it being her brother.
Yeah. That's
after her. But also my biggest beef with that whole movie is
we probably have the same beef.
That this affect, so she's clearly back to like PTSD sort of how that affects you. it affected her, like, her whole life. And not just affected her, then it affected her daughter, was raised by a mother who was terrorized, and their house was like a fortress, and you were you were like prepping for things, and all of those things. That had a mental health domino effect with her daughter and her granddaughter. And then he comes back, and then all they do is, I mean, they have their little fight in her little house, but they just kick him down the stairs and trap him in fire.
Yeah.
I personally think it would have been better if all three women were just ran at him and attacked him and just let out all of that anger and all of that emotion for all of those years from 3 generations of women that man affected by hunting her and stalking her and killing her friends and, you know, all of that. Like, I didn't like that. I understand why they did it, because they're going to make more, and that leaves an open ending because, you know, you don't see a body. You just, you know, there's no body, people. So, that's why I didn't like it, because I think you're going on, like...
So you didn't like it?
It was okay. Yeah. I didn't hate it, but... I really didn't like that part of it, because you're setting it up.
The ending is a big thing for any film, and I agree. I think that they should have extended that ending at least 5 minutes, just battling, like you said, like all the women battling, because you're right. Well, there's generations of just things that he did, like what he did to Jamie Lee Curtis and how it affected her. Like she's got to get that stuff out, and then her daughter. You know, Jamie Lee's character, just raising her in that way, and the daughter doesn't really understand why. She does, but she never went through it. So now that daughter resents Jamie Lee Curtis, so that's a different layer.
Right.
And then there's the granddaughter who's just trying to connect with
the grandma.
With her, and then, you know, she's got her mom, and she just doesn't really, she gets it, but she doesn't really understand it. Now, seeing him come... Like, they should have just, like, straight
there
up...
should have been
Charlie's Angel'd his ass.
Right. There should have been a straight-up battle.
Like Tarantino Death Proof Kurt Russell'd his ass.
Yes.
Where they're just all, like, taking... Boosh, 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 and then, like crunching his skull.
Knife, like, stabbing him a million... Like, because they set it up to be, this is the effect he had on this.
Yeah.
And then just to... kick him down some stairs and lock him in and set him up. Like, it was very anticlimactic for what I think what should happen.
Yeah, I agree with that. I liked our dog. Our dog is wanting to come down. I was like, what is that?
Mom and Dad, what are you doing?
But I liked the movie. It wasn't my favorite, but it wasn't my worst. It just sits in the middle of the Halloween films. For me.
I mean, I didn't hate it. I wasn't like, what the fuck is this shit? I'm never watching it again.
What I did like, they brought Jamie Lee back. I like that they brought the original actor back who played Michael Myers.
Yes, he's a great Michael Myers.
They had some really cool kill scenes. I like there was a cool, like, head stomp in there somewhere, I remember.
I like a good head stomp.
They did, like, a... close to a one-shot take, I think, of Michael walking, and then he goes into the house, and then he, like, slits that woman's throat.
Right.
So filmmaking wise, it was really cool, and it had a lot of cool elements. It's just, I think they dropped the ball on the third act.
I think they did too.
And I know they're filming 2 more, and I hope that, you know, the setup pays off for the next 2. They're not just doing cash grabs.
I hope they do, because they, you know, it's a kind of a big thing.
He could still be her brother.
He could. It's a big thing to take a whole series, wipe out, keep number 1, change the, you know, because number 1, she doesn't know that it's his brother. And then wipe out everything that you've done in how many movies. Start over, essentially.
That's a topic for another time, too.
Yeah, that is a topic for another time.
What do you think of just ignoring, you know, a whole bunch of horror movies and just, like, picking off? I think a few have done that.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to ignore all these and then just start here.
Right.
Like, is that smart to do, or does it matter?
I think it depends on how you execute it.
Yeah.
If you execute it well, that's a smart move. If you don't, then you don't.
I mean, I want someone to just, like the next person to do, like, Halloween 14 and just incorporate all of it.
All of it?
Yeah, and just call it, like, Halloween 14 out of nowhere, or whatever the number is.
Right.
That'd be fucking hilarious.
I was a little, because Danny McBride wrote it, helped write it, And I was a little worried there for a second. But I will say that another honorable mention, which is a newer one, would be Ready or Not. That was fun.
Yeah. That's, we could probably talk about movies of the year 2019, and that one would definitely make the list for sure.
Agreed. That was just fun.
Yeah, it was fun, and the main actress was really good.
She is.
And the ending, again, that ending was awesome. Heads exploding. The whole thing was real. That's great.
And then just her sitting and smoking, like...
Yeah. Well, just the image, too, of her in a wedding dress and sneakers.
Right. Bloody.
That's her character right there. You don't have to say too much. Like, if you just imagine without the context of any type of film... a wedding dress and sneakers, that says what type of character you are. Right. Yeah. But I don't know. Yeah. All right. Well, that was our first episode, right?
All right. I hope you guys liked it.
So let's kill the rest of these.
Done.
So hang on, we have something to say at the end here. Well, our Bloody Marys are dead, and so are we. Our Bloody Marys are dead, and so are we. Drink in moderation, enjoy life and death, and we'll catch you next time.
Catch you later.
This was fun.
It was fun.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
The Bloody Mary Podcast.